The following broadcast is a Nighthawk Network presentation.
What's going on, y'all? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever y'all see this, this is Gametime Audible. We are addressing you in this manner because for the first time ever, we are doing a pre-recorded version of the show that will not only air this evening, that being Friday, but also again on Sunday, so y'all can see it both times. For those of y'all who've been missing the show because of your schedules and whatnot, we're gonna try to accommodate you in this manner for the next couple of weeks, and if it work out, hey, you might keep doing it this way. Why not? In the meanwhile, we're gonna go ahead and talk about what we're talking about this week. Y'all like how the way I got it, where you can see the little basketball rim in the background, but also you got the football. Yeah, we gonna but anyway, here's the deal. This week, you know what we're talking. We're talking NBA playoffs. We of course got to talk about the NFL draft. You know y'all want to hear about that. And of course,
Sir.
we'll talk maybe a little smidge of baseball and a couple little things that we found very interesting that happened in the last 24 hours in regards to women's college basketball. So we'll get into that as well. But first and foremost, we got to introduce the man to match play himself, the one and only sports guru, Hugh Lee. What's going on with you?
What's up, E man? How everything going, man? Big ups to everybody. It's been a
You
crazy.
know, we done had a crazy day outside of the world of sports, but hey,
Day.
it all worked
That's
out.
how often would that happen, man? That's
Right.
rare.
It all worked out. So God bless. But nonetheless, we ready to talk to sports with you. So we're gonna go right into the draft. Here we're gonna kick it off with that.
Yeah, I definitely want to go into the draft, man, so we can kind of get that together, man, and
Oh, wait,
basically,
hold on, my brother. Before we do that, we gotta talk about the big deal that happened before the draft yesterday.
yeah, ooh, that set it off right, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Don't tell them about
Lamar got paid them big bucks, man. When I saw that contract, I said it was well deserved, man. I definitely love Lamar, and I was getting upset because I felt like in a way that he was kind of holding back, or some of the stuff that was going on had something to do with him not having an agent. But in the end, it all worked out, man. So that was a blessing to see, and it was just really right before the draft, man. Wasn't nothing going on. It was dry, man, super dry. Wham, they hit us with a big one. When I first saw the news, it was saying that he was basically about to go, and the negotiation was going great. That's what they said. Negotiation was going good. And it can happen within days. So, we thinking it's going to be like maybe in a few days and we wasn't ready for it today. Bam. They hit us right back and they told us he got a 5 year, $260 million deal, like 185 million guaranteed,
it.
52 million a year.
Say that again, slow, so people understand.
5 year, $260 million deal.
260. Now we gotta take it back to the old school days of the show. Hold on, Hugh. You remember this? For that me, me. That's
He
that big
definitely
money, y'all.
definitely well deserved, man. I just felt like I was a little upset because I felt like it took a little too long. And, we never really like to get on the topic of, the brothers being, black, and that's why they don't get their money. But let's be honest, E. We know when Justin Herbert get his money, it's not going to be no arguments and no issues whatsoever. It's not no issues when it was Josh Allen didn't have no beef, but look how long it took Dak Prescott to get his money. And I was surprised Jalen Hurts just stayed quiet. But what the thing was with him, I think they had more of an advantage too when it came to the Eagles because he was a second round pick. It was a kind of an advantage and disadvantage, and it was just lucky enough that he got his money now, and it definitely laid the foundation for my man's Lamar Jackson. But the good thing about it is, man, with Lamar Jackson making the 52 million per season, that's definitely making him the highest paid. But he needs to thank Jalen Hurts, and we was talking about that, man. It was all about Jalen Hurts because him having his contract done, I believe that made things a little more interesting, and it basically laid the groundwork for Lamar because he didn't have to get guaranteed money to be the highest paid. And at the same time, I still feel like, and we all think that the contract was ridiculous when it came to Deshaun Watson.
And in the end, I'm glad that he gave up on that part of it. Yeah, he didn't get the 230 fully guaranteed contract. That's fine though. I would definitely take the 265 and the 5 years. That's perfect. I in fact say that whatever contract anybody get moving forward in the NFL should no more be 5 years for anybody. Because right now, the person I actually feel bad for is our guy up there in Kansas City. Because he signed that long-term deal, and now everybody pretty much getting that same type of money and passing him back.
Well, sure it did.
10-year, 12-year deal. At some point, he won another Super Bowl. He may need to renegotiate.
Oh, you know that's definitely gonna have to be on the table. Them giving him that renegotiation, because there ain't no way, because he definitely out on the contract.
For $50 million, he done won 2 Super Bowls, been to 3. He won another one. I say that put him at least at 55, 60, 65 million.
Yeah, things are changing on that landmark.
The whole contract is fully guaranteed. All 450 million.
And you definitely can't argue with that, man. That man got a cannon, and he ain't slowing down. That team is a whole nother level of good, and I just really appreciate seeing them play, man, because they remind me so much of the New England Patriots. And then I know my homegirl Toya ain't gonna like to hear that, but then they got their mentality, man. You gotta have that same type of mentality the Patriots had, where you don't mind taking pay cuts and cutting money here and there to get weapons around your team and the personnel. Because I think just this year, Patrick Mahomes did take a pay cut, and to try to get the weapons and get the personnel on the team.
Absolutely, and somewhere people like Doug Williams and Randall Cunningham should be smiling because they now seeing the fruits of their labor early on, where now people understand it's okay to be a black quarterback. And it don't mean that because you're black, you're not a good quarterback, or because you're athletic, you're not a good quarterback. And people are now seeing the fruits of that labor. So I am very thankful that that's been, and we definitely got to also not only give a shout out to Lamar for getting his deal together, but also we learned this week that Jalen Hurts actually had an all-female team of lawyers and agents and whatnot that helped to get his deal together. So I definitely want to give some shout outs to those ladies that show that this is not necessarily a male-dominated situation, and that they can provide the type of services that will get you paid. And I hope that they actually get more clients based on that, because they did a wonderful job. Definitely. Ain't bad to look at either. I can't even lie.
I definitely like that, man. It was awesome. It was a win for, just for him having a women's team who put together that immaculate, at the time, was the most highest paid quarterback. We knew that wasn't going to probably last long because we already know that Joe Burrow's deal's coming up, and I just seen on my phone when you see my eyes get a little wide. Justin Herbert said no rush right now for his contract, and he know what the groundwork is when he do his. And another thing that happened, I should have said audible, but pause. But yes, Zadarius Smith. He's saying that he wants to be traded still, man, and he's not happy. And right now they're looking at it like they might be able to find an interesting trade partner in this draft. So, yeah, we'll keep our eye on that because there's a lot of things going on in that aspect.
Right, and let's also keep an eye out for DeAndre Swift for the Lions, who apparently is coming out and saying that he's seeking a deal to get up out of Detroit. But, of course, we'll get to all of that in our next topic, which is the NFL draft.
I look at it too, E. What's so funny about that is a lot of people was like, what's going on? And why is it, right now that they drafted another running back, but then that's when we heard the rumors that he wanted out of Detroit. But at the same time, you made a perfect analysis of that man. I love him. I think when he plays, he's very talented. But the problem is, and we knew that's why he dropped in the the year before the draft then, because his health, man. He actually got injured before the draft. So that's where his stock went down at. And he's been living up to that expectation because he could not stay healthy. And now
he is healthy, he's still playing kind of timid, kind of soft. And we definitely gonna talk about some soft play when we get to the NBA a little bit later. But
oh yeah, because not even trying to touch on his name. I feel like
on that one right now.
mhm.
Okay,
I
that's a
feel
whole
like
other direct.
I feel like that's how your boy is, more kind of he's real glass Joe-ish, Swift, and that's one of the reasons why I think they want him out of here. Because when you got a bell cow like David Montgomery, how many times that dude been injured, man?
And still stayed in the game. Oh yeah,
That's
it
a
happened.
bell cow. I hated that dude. He played on Chicago and he would not go down, man. I was a little hurt at first when we lost our boy Jamal Williams because he was a good leader on our team. But then, we basically talked about it before. Prior to this, he screwed himself. Well, he might as well blame his agent for that. We had to move on. And now with Jahmyr Gibbs, I was very disappointed because people looked at him and felt like, man, they reached. But everybody's listening to the critics, man. That's one thing I don't like. People listen to critics.
Hold on, Hugh. We can't just
Mhm.
skip down to number 12. We at least got to start at the beginning and get to that point. I know it's
Okay.
Lions country and all, but come on, we got to start this at the beginning. Let's get.
You already know what time it is. Let me get up in there. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I had my fingers crossed, man, because really we really didn't know who was going to be number one. We talked about it. I was so upset at one point when I was like, man, I love Stroud, but we always talked about it was Stroud basically didn't hold his ground when he played. He lost twice to Michigan. That was just not really good for him and his rep because of that. And the way they lost, they just didn't lose. They got their asses kicked by us both years. And they played well in the Georgia game. They should have won, and they let that game slip from them. So when it came to him being battle tested, he reminds me so much of a guy that we'll talk about too, Ron. He's a good regular season quarterback, but when it comes to the playoffs, man, that dude fold like the cars. He fold like a deck of cards, and I just couldn't give the benefit of the doubt that he was going to go number one because I felt like my boy been battle tested. Hurts went through a lot in Alabama, but I think Bryce did too, man, because when Tua left, he was the successor. Nobody knew about Bryce Young and what he was going to do and how he was going to play. And the dude played way better than my expectations. And we've talked about so many times in the past, he won a few games for Alabama, which they shouldn't have won. And he kept them in games that they wasn't even close in. I feel like a bad play where the receivers, which wasn't really no polished receivers, they were got young guys and who wasn't really battle tested. A drop pass, where we could have got an easy field goal if he would have caught that pass, we'd have been probably talking about Alabama, in the playoffs. But that being said, I wanted to go ahead and say I definitely like what the Texans did because they went ahead and they got their quarterback because we didn't think they was gonna get him. All the rumors we was hearing. And I said, okay, they got C.J. Stroud. What's next then? I was like, are they going to go defense still? Them dudes went right back up. Like, how many damn picks y'all got to go to number 3 and then turn around and get Will Anderson? That was crazy, man.
I most definitely say that the Houston Texans definitely won this round of the draft because of the moves that they made, particularly with Stroud. I mean, bottom line is the difference between Stroud and Young is that Young had more than intangibles. I think when all was said and done, you were more comfortable with Young playing against any offense and against any defense because
he be so.
He was a gamer, and you didn't see that in Stroud. It seemed like when the big games came up, sometimes Stroud didn't show up. He has all the, he has all the necessary, he's 3. He has the nice arm. He's a decent decision maker and whatnot. But it was the heart that people questioned. So I think that
Yeah.
when it came down to who was one and who was two, that's what came up. Definitely was surprised to see the Texans jump right back at number 3 and pick up Will Anderson. That I think that may be the steal of the draft in terms of that because remember the Texans were god awful last year. I would dare
Yeah.
say they were the worst team in the NFL, except for the fact that they always seem to be in games. You
You
know,
know what? That's kind of like deja vu.
they actually beat the world champion Chiefs at one point last year.
Mm-hmm.
But
Them
that
dudes.
being said, they in this offseason they didn't did it all. They basically didn't went hard in the paint in free agency. They not only went hard in the paint in the draft. They picked up a person I think is going to be a great coach in the National Football League. I'm really looking forward to what their season looks like.
And you know, I'm a little bit biased too, because you know where that dude come from, E.
Mm-hmm.
I
You
like
said
that Ryan's
quite
hookup first.
first
That was
round came from the factory, as I call it.
because the layout. It was funny too that Will Anderson act like he knew, probably knew, but just didn't want to really say. Because the lady was like, "What do you think about D'Amico Ryans? I know you guys got ties." And he was like, "No, he seen a good player and he want him. No, that Alabama has something to do with it. So don't even take all the credit. We know you a workhorse and you a great player, Will Anderson, but you know too that Alabama tie has something to do with it." But
Right.
it's they starting to get players over there from Alabama now too, man. Because now you got Will Anderson and you already had Mechie over there, and he's back healthy, man. And if you ain't here, man, you know God is good. That dude is cancer free, and he definitely will be playing next season.
Amen. Amen. So thankful for that. And of course, the other big shocks of the draft came from our Detroit Lions, who first of all traded that number 6 pick. And I was so happy they did because I do believe the two players that they wanted at 6, which was Witherspoon, who went to Seattle, and of course Will Anderson, who went to the Texans, they weren't available. So at that point, they felt, okay, we don't need to stay up here. Let's see what we can get for this number 6 pick, and that worked out pretty well for them because they got to move down a few spots, and then the pick that they made, that's the one that seemed to be the shock of the draft first round so far when they took Gibbs out of Alabama. Now understand, I'm gonna have Hugh tell you about Gibbs because, of course, as you see him representing his squad, Alabama, he would know more about him than most of us. But in the end, I like him as a running back, and if that was my number 2 pick instead of getting Bijan, who went a couple spots ahead of him, I ain't mad at it.
I don't know if you heard or I don't know if you seen on my Facebook page. I put it on there. It was to the point where a lot of people really had him going as the first running back. I mean, yeah, no disrespect to Bijan Robinson. That dude's a workhorse, man. He's gonna be a grinder. He's like the old school built running backs, but at the same time, that's what he is, just a workhorse. But when you come to Jahmyr Gibbs, not only can he run and he's a speedster, man. That dude got quick, man. His moves, his cuts, and not only he got the lightning speed, man, but he could catch the ball out the backfield too, man. You could use him as a wide receiver, and that's what people wasn't looking at yesterday. All they looked at is running back, but they didn't look at he's basically kind of built like a Alvin Kamara or one of those Christian McCaffrey types, and he got the speed of like a Tyreek Hill at that position, man. We talked about this before, E. One time I was so mad at an Alabama game, I turned it off. And I went ahead and started doing stuff around the house. And then I looked up and you basically text me like, Hugh, man, are you happy now? And I'm like, man, what the heck are you talking about? I turned back on the TV. They were up by like 3 touchdowns. And I said, well, man, they were just tired. How are they up 3 touchdowns now? In 2 possessions, Jahmyr Gibbs, man, had damn near 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in
And
2
now,
possessions.
right, and understand, people, for those who had an issue with it, one, he did rate as one of the top 3 running backs coming out this draft. Two, he is, in fact, quicker than Bijan Robinson, not as big, but is quicker. And remember, what is one of the key things that people are liking about our Detroit Lions for next year? The fact that we have one of the better offensive lines in the league, which basically loans itself to being able to better run the ball. We have definitely upgraded overall at running back. Jamal Williams was a good running back, but he was
Man,
not known for his speed and quickness, and he did not break off a lot of long runs. I think we have the potential to do that now with Montgomery and of course with Gibbs, and then if we not keep Mr. Swift, if we run all three of them and basically do a running back by committee, who knows what we'll be able to do? And that's not even going into what we got receiver wise, because you still could take Amon-Ra St. Brown and do a lot of things with him.
I'm glad you mentioned that, E, because by you saying that too, man, people don't realize they're going to use him as a receiving running back, man. It ain't no doubt. And then, I was so disappointed, and I want to talk about that. We had 5 players be suspended from gambling. 4 of them was Detroit Lions. The ones that I know and I'm familiar with is Cephas, C.J. Moore, and it was Quentin Cephas. It was C.J. Moore, and I know Jamison Williamson, and the Berry Hill kid. I forgot his first name, but they were all guys who've been suspended for gambling, and they got Shaka too from the Washington Redskins from betting, and I think they bet in the facility. And I think that's something that's illegal. You can't do that when you're on their time.
As an athlete in the NFL, and the rules for each league is different. They do allow you to gamble. They do allow you to sports gamble if it's legal in your state. The problem is that you are not to do it while you at work.
And hey, I can respect it.
And that is part of it. Now, for Cephas and Moore, the problem is that not only did they gamble at work, but they gambled on the NFL, which is an absolute no-no, period, for anybody. Not just for people that's playing on the field of NFL. Any NFL personnel is not allowed to gamble on NFL. Hell, my uncle works for the Lions. We've talked about that. I think that even includes him. He just in charge of stuff. But,
What pissed me off, too, is like, y'all don't think they see what the hell y'all doing on their Wi-Fi? How stupid are
age, they basically take cell phone and go through your whole browser history, whether you erased it or not. So you gotta be smarter than that.
Because I know I didn't do anything when I was at my job, man, because especially nothing we had no business. Like, look at that stuff like you have no business at all, like, dirty sites or gambling and, any of that crap, because they got, like you said, my browser history, they can pull that up from the job. So why would you do something that stupid to put yourself at risk?
Right.
Because
I thought that making millions of dollars, you don't want to jeopardize yourself in that way. For basically doing something you probably having fun with. I know y'all wasn't betting no buku money on them games, but it didn't cost you, in the case of a couple of those guys, pretty much their career, because they was marginal players at best, and now they suspended indefinitely. So even when they do get reinstated, it's a possibility they may not come back to anybody's squad.
And that's sad too. And I was so mad because Jamison Williams is a guy that is from Alabama who I was a huge fan of. And, he's one of them speedsters that I was talking about, man. And we seen it last year, man. That dude, man, they blew a cover. He was like 10, 15 yards open. But that's just a lot of his speed, too. They got to respect that man and his quickness. But I was very disappointed in that, man, because, the Lions are not playing no more, man. They won't allow and let a lot of stuff like that go. Man,
right. He didn't bet on no NFL game, so he'll be able to come back after week 6, I believe. But it's still kind of a hurtful thing. And like I said, I think it definitely would affect who the Lions pick in the second round today. I definitely see them taking some type of receiver with one of those 3 second-round picks that they have. But to go back to that first round, I kind of want to get into some more of that before we move forward. So go ahead,
man. So since we talked about the first pick, which we all know was Bryce Young, we talked about the second and third pick was Stroud and, Will Anderson. The fourth pick didn't really surprise me at all. It surprised a lot of people, but I felt more or less bad for Will Levis because of the fact when we found out Anthony Richardson was getting off the board that he was going to slide because it was teams that probably needed a quarterback, but then it was certain other spots that they can fill as well. And when that happened with Richardson, I really thought that was a really good pickup. I think they're looking at it too, like he worked with the offensive coordinator before, and they wanted to basically finally get their quarterback because they tried to brush some tires off some guys. It worked with Rivers. It worked with Philip Rivers, and it didn't work with none of the other guys though because Ryan looked really bad. Ryan sucked,
And
and,
Carson Wentz,
and
yeah,
Carson didn't look good. But they had to do it this time, and I was glad that he landed for them because this dude got a really huge upside. He got a strong arm and he can run. And I just want to see what he can do over there with the coach. And it's going to be deadly with him, man. And they got a really good running back over there, too. So I'm really happy to see that.
and I'm really hoping that they don't rush him. I'm hoping that they let whoever is the starter prior to him be the starter for now and let him learn from those people and then bring him in sometime in the middle of the season when he's ready to start really playing because we know there's a lot of developmental things that people had issue with, which is why they chose not to take him with the first or second pick. They felt like he was a better overall athlete than perhaps Bryce Young or Stroud, but they felt that he had some maturing to him in terms of his overall play. And
He's
for him,
still
definitely the case in Levis because I think that's the biggest shock in terms of first round as who didn't get picked because not only did he slide after that, he still hasn't been picked at all.
Yeah, they still on the clock looking for him, man. That's really a shocker. But I know a lot of teams calling up to try to get him right now. And the reason why we picked who we picked too, for all the Detroit fans who are all acting salty out there, is the fact that Devon Witherspoon ended up going to the Seattle Seahawks, and by him going to the Seahawks, they leapfrogged us because we was at 6 at the time. So they went up to 5 and took him, and that's when I think they made the move with Arizona, and they went back 12 spots for the 12th pick and the 34th overall. How did you like that pick for the Seattle Seahawks, man? And the cornerback.
I mean, we know Seattle is decent. I mean, they basically almost made the playoffs last year. So we saw what their deficiency was, and it was on defense because, yeah, they scored a lot of points, but they gave up a lot of points. Remember that game between them and the Lions where basically they both scored over 40. It just so happened they scored a little bit more than we did. So defense is definitely what they will be focusing on throughout most of the rest of this draft as far as they're concerned. So they definitely needed some cornerbacks because they had a lot of people get burnt on defense. So it made sense for them to get who was viewed as the best cornerback. Granted, I don't think he's on that Sauce Gardner level at all, but it's a good pick for them. And like I said, I do believe the Lions had planned on picking either Will Anderson or Witherspoon with that 6th pick. When he wasn't available, that's why they traded down. I think they got some good value for that number 6 pick, which you have to remember wasn't they pick anyway. That's the pick they got from the Rams.
Yeah, and they end up getting 2 picks in round 1, and that was good to me, and I was definitely happy about that. The rookie that they got over there last year for the Seahawks, man, he was a flat out beast. Too Wilton, the corner, but at the same time, too, the issue was everybody was throwing to the opposite side of him, and they had nobody on the other side, and that's why they was getting toasted. I know they tried to do a crazy trick play at one point where it got intercepted in the Buccaneers game, but nobody was throwing to that rookie, man. He was like the next best thing to Sauce Gardner, man, and he was so low key because they didn't even get that dude in the high round. If I'm not mistaken, I think they got Wilton probably in later rounds, like 3rd, 4th round. But then that's the one thing.
Well, no, I think they didn't get him in the 1st round. Kenneth Walker, I do believe that was a 2nd round pick for them. So, credit Seattle for drafting well to begin with. And then, of course, as you know, they got all those picks that they got from the Broncos. So they pretty loaded still for the rest of the draft also.
And it's about to be amazing because that's one thing I like about him, man. Because at first, when Pete Carroll left and came to Seattle, man, the Legion of Boom, all those guys that he got over there, man, those dudes was phenomenal. And they got my man's Richard Sherman like in the 4th, 5th round, and he was pissed off. And I think that was a chip that he had played with because he felt like Harbaugh didn't give him the recognition he deserved, and that's why he felt like he slipped in the draft. But yeah, man, it was just really incredible to see how Pete Carroll draft. But with the sixth pick that we gave up after we lost out on Witherspoon, um, the Cardinals, Arizona Cardinals, end up getting Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State. I think he's going to be good as far as one of the cover guys. He's still kind of raw himself, but I think that he'll fit in over there, like a plug and play guy that can help Kyler Murray, because we know that that's one issue that they had over there is him not being able to stay upright. He was getting injured from all those sacks, so I definitely think that's going to help them out because that was needed over there was an offensive tackle.
I pretty much like any offensive lineman that come out the Big Ten or the SEC, particularly if it's at one of those big schools like a Alabama, or Georgia, or Michigan or Ohio State. They usually are very well trained, and they are pretty much usually Swiss Army knives in terms of where you can put them at in terms of the inside or the outside of the line. I mean, if you look around the league, particularly just look at the Lions and look at some of the people that they have on the offensive line from Ohio State and Michigan. You know, they fit. They already come pre-prepared, ready to go in the NFL. So I'm not mad at that pick at all. And you know they need offensive line help over there in Arizona because that's why
Absolutely.
what Kyler Murray hurt in the first place.
Absolutely, those guys are terrible, man. They only thing they can do now is look up, man. I don't see them looking back because it was so bad last year. Their coach is not there with them no more because of that too. And I think that that's an example of what have you done for me lately. At one time, I think they was like 13-4, and they were in the playoffs, and they lost kind of prematurely to, you know, now this year the coach is gone.
Right.
I think
And
now
don't worry, y'all. If y'all think we about to sit here and go through every pick in the first round, we not. But we are going to touch on some of the major ones. So that being said, he's going to give you some of them, and then we're going to talk about those for a few. Go ahead, you.
all right, man. How do you feel about the Tyree Wilson pickup, man? Because he climbed up in the draft. I think that sometimes the Raiders reach, and people might agree or disagree with me, but I definitely felt like Tyree Wilson was a great pickup. But his issue was that he had injuries, and he really started to like pick up this year. Most times, if you just excel like out of a year or 2 years, and you've been playing and you've been in college for 4 years, that'll be a question mark. But that question mark I can deal with, but other question marks like personnel, or you just not a person where we can trust because we feel like you would do things like go out and go out on the streets and probably fight somebody or get into a car accident racing someone. We definitely gonna talk about him. But as far as Tyree Wilson, do you think that that was a reach at 6, or do you feel like that was more of they working on his potential?
I'm not mad at it. I mean, remember, when we talk about the draft and the Raiders always been a little different in terms of how they draft and who they draft. I think the same can be said of the Cowboys too. But the Raiders, they look for a different type of player, it seemed like, than most people. Particularly, remember back in the days of Al Davis, he was in love with people that had either that moxie or that particular type of speed. So, on the one hand, he did hit on people like Charles Woodson and people of that ilk. But on the other hand, it's been speedsters that he didn't pick, and it's like, really? I go back in the day. I tell you about one dude named Willie Gault that the Raiders ended up getting at some point. And it's like, that was typically the type of player they look for, somebody that was just real, real quick and real flashy. Those are the type of people that Al Davis fell in love with. So, in terms of the draft, I think his son Mark is kind of similar. It's a certain type of player that he's looking for. I think, in terms of who they should have drafted, Wilson works out, but don't be surprised in some of these later rounds if the Raiders pick some people and it's like, why him?
Hell, they don't know half the times, E.
Mm-hmm.
With the John Robinson pick, people don't really respect the running back position. They felt like he was ranked too high. But when you see him, man, what I see is a workhorse and a guy you can depend on who's going to come there and give Atlanta a boost, because you can name any of I can't really name their running backs on that roster. But when he go over there, he's going to be a plug. He's going to be a first-day starter.
No doubt. And remember, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Hugh, last year, I don't think any running back went in the top 20 last year at all. And this year we
No,
had two. So that should let you know what type of quality. And keep in mind, I still say there's other good running backs out there in some of these later rounds. Remember, you still got that kid from US or UCLA that was the former Michigan Wolverine Carbonell. I believe he's in this draft. I love that dude coming out of Kansas State. That dude's
Yeah.
born. I think anybody that ends up picking him, they're gonna have something. They're gonna have something special. And there's other people that we've been seeing from some of the Big Ten schools, and of course from the SEC, that's gonna make some fine running backs as well. So don't sleep on the running backs.
And that's the best part about tonight too. Just in case you guys didn't know what time the draft was, it's going to be at 7:00. What makes that so good is because all the time he will see all the people come out the first round. Did you see the second round? Because I know I'm gonna text you like, man, I thought that he was gone. I thought he'd win the first round. Guys like Jims who slip through the cracks, But
Right.
most times, in general, today and tomorrow is where you build a team to make Super Bowl run, not really the first round. First rounds be hit or miss, but you get those guys, those gritty guys from the second and third on out. Yeah, that's where you get your team. And the one guy who slipped in the draft, who I wanted to brush up on, is and like I was saying, man, he was racing. It was a car accident. People died, and he not only did that, and that was a red flag to me, but another red flag was he did really bad at the combine. Did he had his pro day? He was like 10, 15, no, he was 20 pounds overweight and didn't look good. He was gassed. I don't even think he finished his whole, pro day because, he couldn't. I mean, he was too out of shape. I feel like Jalen Carter went to a good spot, but he definitely fell from the top 5 that they thought he was going to be. Hell, I thought he was going to slip down even lower. I think discipline was one of the red flags, but he's blessed to be ranked that high. And he's going to be on a really good defense that needed him, and he fell in their lap as a need because of Hargrove left, So they needed that guy on the defensive line. But at the same time, I think that he'll have enough people over there like Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and guys who will keep him in check, Darius Slade. So I don't think there's going to be no issues over there when it comes to that.
And what team are we talking about, Hugh?
The Philadelphia Eagles.
And again, people, I need you to understand, in an ideal world where you are a team blessed with much defensive talent, you can afford to make a pick like this and take a chance on a dude like Jalen Carter. Remember, in the past, it's happened before. People had some question marks about people's character and whatnot. As a result, they slipped. We always bring up the Jeremy Tucker as an example of that. We all know about the little incident with the smoking or whatever. Look how fine a career he has had thus far since that time. It does not necessarily mean that because you've had some past discretion that you cannot be a good NFL player. And as a result, I think that was the thinking with the Eagles, and they felt like they had enough veteran leadership in that locker room to take that young man under their wing and like, look, guy, we about to show you how to be a good pro and whatnot. It kind of brings me back to an episode of All the Smoke that I saw with Charles Barkley when he talked about how when he came to the Philadelphia 76ers and he basically wasn't getting no playing time at first, how the veterans on the squad came to him, that being Daryl Dawkins and, of course, the great Moses Malone and Dr. J saying, hey, man, you come with us. This is why you too fat, baby. You got to get it together. I'm going to work out with you.
That's funny. They definitely hurt his feelings. He said they hurt his feelings, but when they said that too, that guy got in really good shape at the time too.
Mm-hmm. So Moses Malone helped him with his workouts, and Dr. J helped him get his clothes and stuff together because he was always wearing them little sweatsuits and stuff. Like, man, this ain't good. It's like, man, come with us. Like, yeah, try these suits on. All right, now pay for them. Now make sure you wear these.
That tutelage is awesome too. When you got some people like that under your belt, man, and you're gonna have some guys to push you to the limits, and that's why I think that was.
And how you gonna tell Moses Malone and Dr. J no? And they two are the best players who ever played the game. You know what I'm saying? And as a result, he became one of the best players in his own right. So hopefully something like that will definitely happen for Jalen Carter over there with the Eagles as well. I hope so. Like we were talking about earlier, off the air, we were saying, Brian Clark was like, come here, man. Look, first of all, ain't no more drive for you. You take Uber from now on. Here your Uber card. I don't want you. Let me catch you drive. Second of all, you live with us now. You don't on crib. We're gonna take care of you. We're gonna get you together.
We got to leave the rest of it out because we laughed at that. We laughed for like a good 15, 20 minutes with that part.
Right. You know, the rest of it will, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, hopefully they'll work it out with you.
Emmanuel.
Go ahead, Hugh.
Oh, okay. No, you go ahead, man. What's up, brother?
No, another good pick I felt that was in that mid round is the second pick that the Lions made, where they got that young man from Iowa.
I love to hate that guy because, you know, I hated Iowa for so long. They're such a good, disciplined team. And even on their bad days, they're still a team who'll give anybody the business. And Jack Campbell is one of those guys, man. He one of them old school dudes. He's a blue collar guy, man. Get his lunch pail and he just go out there and do work. I got to find that what he said too when they first picked him, and they were asking, "What do you feel about the Lions picking you?" And let me see where it was at, because when this is what Jack Campbell said. He said it's only about football in Detroit, and football all this matters.
And see, that's part of what they loved about him. They talked about it, you know, the talking heads in Detroit local radio was talking about it. And, you know, when they talked to the general manager here in regards to why they picked him, they said they loved his work ethic. They loved the fact that he was about football, nothing but football. He was one of those players that actually was eligible for NIL deals and refused them because he said he didn't want nothing to take away from his focus in regards to that. It was all about football for him. You know, basically they liked the fact that when they interviewed him, he interviewed strong, and you know, he basically said he liked the work ethic here in Detroit. You know, I think he is one of those people that's gonna appreciate being a Lion. I think we're gonna appreciate him in return. You know, he's been compared to linebackers such as Urlacher, such as Butkus, such as Luke Kuechly. I mean, if he plays anywhere along those lines, then yeah, we got a real good.
Yeah, we have us a ball player, man. And the thing is, what I like too is Brad Holmes don't give a damn about what other people think, man. Most times when we hear that talk, because my nephew was making me upset too because he was like, yeah, I wasn't really too thrilled about those picks. I said, man, you don't even watch college football, man. You don't have an opinion right now. I said, until you watch college football and know who these guys are, you can't even have any opinion right now. But then, you know, yeah, I'm seeing the articles and I'm seeing the critics saying that we reached for both of them when we could have got them in the second round. But that's when we heard too today earlier before me and you got together, and they were saying that other teams was trying to call up to get Jahmyr Gibbs, and you know, so it's like, what you gonna criticize everybody's pick? I know they used to do the same thing with New England, and all New England ever did when they used to criticize their picks at the time it was won Super Bowls.
Right, and understand, even if you got somebody and they just seem like they graded out the greatest in terms of the draft gurus or whatever, remember, you got to count that your team is going to get said individual and coach him up and teach him what he needs to know so he could be a better player. And in the end, if they don't get the job done, if they can't get the type of production that they need out of said player, such as a Jeff Okuda, that they will do the right thing and get rid of him and move on.
Yeah.
And I trust that the Lions, I mean, just based on what we've seen these last couple seasons, that the Lions are able to do that with people. Let's look at some of their past drafts and what they've done with some of those picks. And I'm just not talking about the Aiden Hutchinsons of the world. I'm talking about some of those later round picks, like Amon-Ra St. Brown or that kid Hudson that they got, and what he did in terms of defensively last year.
Malcolm Rodriguez, that dude was a 6th-round pick. He was a beast.
Exactly. So yeah, let's give them a little credit and see what they do. I mean, we so used to having it bad here in Detroit that pretty much anything outside of what's viewed as status quo is going to be questioned. So and until they show me they can't get it done, I'm with whoever they draft right now. So we all know the draft is not an exact science, okay? You may have gone to an Alabama, such as a Bryce Young or whatnot, end up being a great player. Or you may have gone to the same Alabama and be Trent Richardson. Remember that guy? And make out not so good. Or Michigan or Ohio State, whatever the case may be.
And then you know what happened to Reuben Foster? He was a great player, but he just couldn't keep that off the field issues out of contact, man. And that was the thing that hurt him because he wasn't a great player. It was just his off the field issues was too much.
Right. And then, of course, like I said, you don't necessarily even have to go to a great school to be a great player. I mean, let's look at some of those HBCU people that came up in the NFL, ended up being great, like your Steve McNair and, of course, the late, great Walter Payton, for example.
One thing that surprised me was I think it was a copycat league once it went through 20 to 24. Out of all those picks, like one of them, Seattle getting finally they got a slot receiver because I think they're going to get him too because I feel like he could do slot in, he could do outside because we talked about it. Tyler Lockett ain't getting any younger. He is speedster right now, but that speed starting to deteriorate, and we've seen that last year. How do you feel about the Jackson Smith and Jigba pick?
Like I said, I like that pick. I mean, I criticized Seattle last year for not having enough receiver help. They got him, and of course they got the big fella, the big receiver Metcalf, but outside of that, who did they really have at receiver? I mean, even in the days of Russell Wilson, the receiving core wasn't what it could be. So
No.
I definitely like the fact that they got, and I would not be mad if they draft another receiver. After all, Seattle does have those extra picks, like I said, that they got from Denver. So I definitely would like to see them step their receiver game up. So I'm not mad.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, Gilmore Smith, he's been kind of injury prone himself these last couple of years. So I'm hoping they allow him to get healthy and play. But yeah, I'm not mad at that pick at all.
What's crazy too, the only receiver that really caught my eye back then, we're not talking about DK Metcalf now. We're talking about Seattle when Russell Wilson first came there. And he wasn't really like an explosive receiver. It was just he was a dog. I definitely did like Doug Baldwin though.
Absolutely. And Doug Baldwin basically put you in the mindset of certain, middle ground type receivers that they basically wasn't the fastest or the quickest, but they got shit did. People like your Wes Welkers, people like your
And Quan Bolton.
Cooper Kupp and people of that nature. They just basically was good for present. I mean, even Nate Burleson back in the day for the Lions, somebody along that line that just basically was productive.
Your boy came right off the board after him too, to the Chargers, man. And how do you feel about that? That was somebody I would have liked to get too. He slipped. I know we definitely would have kept our eyes on Quentin Johnston from TCU.
See, San Diego was my pick to win the Super Bowl last year, and part of why they didn't make the playoffs, I feel like, because they constantly had receivers hurt last year.
Them dudes can't stay.
Williams and all that, they just couldn't stay healthy. So I think getting some extra receivers definitely will help them because we all know Herbert, he played very jacked up. When you remember that injury he had to his chest where he could barely breathe through the ball. That being said, he still played it out, unlike some other softer people that we will mention later in the show. I ain't gonna let that go.
How do you like not only did your boy get the huge contract yesterday, it surprised the hell out of all of us, and at the right before the draft to give us that spark and give us that energy going into the draft. But then you turn around, not only did you give him OBJ, but then Zay Flowers, one of the more faster wide receivers who plays the outside, but he could kill you on the inside. He's a little smaller, but man, have you ever seen that dude run? That dude is like lightning in a bottle.
Understand, people, one problem that we kept having last year with Baltimore, especially once Lamar got hurt, who did they have to throw to? Remember, when Lamar was there and he get in trouble, he did one or two things. One, it was time to scramble, and Lamar the best scrambler in the league right now. Or two, he looked for his dude Andrews, the tight end. Because you really had nobody else to throw to there. You know what I'm saying? So now you get that dude some receiving options. And keep in mind, it's smart to have not one, but two receivers now that are good at being outside of the patterns that they run. Because sometimes Lamar is going to improvise, and you're going to need to be able to improvise with him to get open so that you can receive the ball. And we know OBJ is great at that. And Zay Flowers has that type of speed where he will be useful with that as well. So they basically keep Dobbins healthy and everybody is protecting Lamar like they should, yeah, Baltimore's gonna have a they're gonna be hell to deal with.
And whoever get Mark Andrews right now, I'm gonna say it right now, as you hear me saying it right now on the show. Whoever get that dude in fantasy, oh man, he gonna reap the benefits of this. I know he's the happiest out of everybody.
Absolute.
He's still gonna get his reps. I don't care what nobody say. You know how
Oh
they'll be
yeah.
like, his reps will go down. No, not at all.
Because
He gonna
remember,
get that favorite
they
blanket.
started in the end zone to look for.
Indeed. Okay. I feel like this was a smart pick right here, and we about to kind of brush along afterwards. But Jordan Addison was smart because I'm gonna say, on my opinion, and I want to get your opinion afterwards. Because they already lost Adam Thielen. I feel like Adam Thielen started getting up there in age, and you could start to see his game deteriorate. He might need a fresh start. I'm not sure. But I felt like Justin Jefferson didn't have to get all the targets he was getting. But if Adam Thielen wasn't open, and then how they gonna give him the targets? So that's why I feel like Jefferson reaped the benefits. But at the end of the day, too, I just feel like right now it was time for change because I think he was like 32, or he's getting closer, like the wrong side of 30. So, how did you feel about Jordan Addison going to the Minnesota Vikings?
Again, I wasn't mad at that pick either. Remember, I don't think it's so much that Thielen is not a good receiver. I think he just no longer fit the narrative of what the Minnesota Vikings was becoming. Because remember, you got Jefferson that basically we all remember that one game last season when he just caught everything. I mean, some of the most spectacular catches you will see ever in one game. He did, and then of course, don't forget that dude, Kate. What is it? KT Osborne. Yeah,
He's a runner himself, man. So now
right.
you got dudes on the outside, and you got that slot in Jordan. That's perfect.
Exactly. And then again, I'm curious to see what they do in terms of the running back because there's still those rumors out that they're looking to trade their running back.
Whoo, did you
And
hear
I
the
really
rumor?
don't understand that, just like I don't understand it with the Titans wanting to trade the running
Derrick
back.
Henry still hearing he shopped around. What,
Right.
what is what is going on with Eon? Did you hear I don't know if you knew the last rumor. I put it out there because that was something that was almost draft day deal last year. The team who's looking for that dude, I said, Lord, don't let Dalvin Cook go to this team. Miami Dolphins. Like
Right.
already a good team. They defense just bulked up, man, getting Bradley Chubb. Now you got Jalen Ramsey. Now y'all trying to get him Dalvin Cook. Like, please, man. Let him, give him to somewhere else, man. Well, he can get out our division, though. I don't care about that.
And understand, like I said, we moving out of the first round now. Remember, a lot of the good deals don't always happen in the first round. They usually happen the second day with the
Hmm.
second and third round picks because you still consider a lot of these people that would probably make teams in the NFL. Once we get into the fourth round and afterwards, then we kind of experimenting a lot in terms of picks. But don't be surprised if some major deals get made today, particularly with teams like Seattle and the Lions, who have several picks in these second and third round.
Can kind of move up and down the board.
Exactly.
One pick I had to put in there too, because I did like Devon Revinspoon, but I felt like the best cornerback in the draft at the time too, and now he's going to what they call now cornerback U. How do you feel the fit was, and because it was a need right now? Because Lord, we got to talk about too because the AFC East is only getting stronger. We're gonna brush up on that too before I even talk about Christian Gonzalez, but they need a big and lengthy cornerback right now to, you know, defend these receivers because these teams only got better. And it seems like right now, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like I've been hearing a lot of rumors coming out of New England. And after Bill Belichick beat this Don Shula record, he's out of there. I don't think they're ever too happy the way things was going over there in New England. And then at the same time, right now, they need Christian Gonzalez because man, now when you got Aaron Rodgers over there who just got traded, and you got Rodgers, you got Josh Allen, and you got Tua Tagovailoa over there too, man. It's like, and you just have Mac Jones. I'm not saying Mac Jones is not like a really bad quarterback, but he don't have no weapons to go with it neither. I mean, Devontae Parker, I mean, I like him. And I don't really have no problem with Juju Smith Schuster, but they'll be like second, third string quarterbacks on any team. They need some separation over there with their receivers. But at the same time, I think they needed to get Christian Gonzalez, man. That might just save Bill Belichick's job. And if he can probably find a worthy receiver in this second round.
I mean, understand, like I said, I don't see any great cornerbacks in this particular draft. Like I said, I don't see no Sauce Gardners or no Deion Sanders floating around in this one. But in the same token, you got to consider things like that if you're going to be over there in the AFC, where most of the good teams are. You know, it's just like dealing with the West and the NBA. I mean, you got those teams in that division. Then, you know, in the West, with the exception probably of the Raiders, there's a lot of good teams coming out of that division. I mean, the Broncos most definitely gonna be better. We know this.
Damn, they upgraded.
And I just don't see
Yeah,
my man
man.
Russell having a year like he had last year. And then we
No.
already know what the Chiefs is about. And again, the Chargers will definitely be better this year. No doubt about it.
And then, they'll have help back from people. A lot of people were injured last year, so JC Jackson to be back. That was one of the surprise deals that I seen, or he
Right.
ended up getting hurt for the rest of the season. So, yeah, it's going to be a really
Right.
tough bit.
Let's not sleep on the AFC Central for that matter. The teams with the Ravens and, of course, the Bengals that's going to be in the mix. And Pittsburgh going to be better. So, like I said, those are the teams that you mostly going to be playing. You got to step your game up, especially defensively. And New England, they don't have it like they used to. They got to
Not at all.
upgrade.
I feel like my man's so stuck in his ways that he didn't understand that the game kind of moved and adjusted on him. And I definitely I still feel like, in my opinion, I don't care what nobody say, I still feel like Robert Kraft wasn't too happy the way things went with Tom Brady left and went out of town. Then him winning the Super Bowl and them not even they made the playoffs once. But then after that, out of 4 years, they made the playoffs once. So that basically don't make one of the best coaches of all time look good right now.
Right. And if you wanted Garoppolo so bad, because remember, there was that whole debate, you had the chance to get him. Why didn't you?
And it wasn't really like Garoppolo got paid a lot of money neither, you know what I'm saying? They had a lot of money in salary cap space in New England, and you could have got him, and you decided not to.
Yep. So there you have it.
How do you like the Cowboys getting your buddy, from from Michigan, Mozzie Smith? Do you think that that's going to pan out for them over there? They already have a heck of a defense, man. And then I feel like them getting Stephon Gilmore, he's a little up in age, but he still got it, though. But then to get a guy like this on the interior, man, that's actually pretty good.
I hate talking anything draft-wise about them Cowboys because you know how Cowboy fans is, and rest in peace to our dude H2. But you already know whoever they draft is basically the best thing since sliced bread, future Hall of Famer. Oh, y'all let us slip and get this guy, and so on and so forth. I think we all know this is probably like their third choice on the board, much like for the Lions. Everybody and mama seem to be talking about how they wanted to get Bijan Robinson, but basically didn't want to trade up to get him. So if he was available at that point, that's definitely who they probably would have picked.
Absolutely.
He was basically on their board at that point. That's who they picked. They still gonna feel like they win the Super Bowl regardless of who they pick. You know how Cowboy fans are.
How do you feel about the Eagles getting Nolan Smith at 30? Now you have a guy who they already said had a hell of an upside, as one of the edge rushers, but then they end up getting the defensive tackle who's good in the interior, and then you got Nolan Smith as an edge rusher, and then you already know what they got last year. They got two guys from Georgia last year, and they're just basically getting one of the best defenses assembled in college, and they're trying to make them the future of the Philadelphia Eagles franchise.
Like I said, basically the Eagles adding to the staff right now. I mean, they understand that several people on that defense is kind of getting older, and they basically need to get some draft people together so that they can start to get a little younger in terms of the defense to keep up with that offense. And these are the moves they're making. And like I said, I still feel like the Texans won the first round, but in second place, I got to go with the Eagles and the moves that they made. I like all of them that they made, even who they traded for, where they traded down to, and all of that.
It all started when they got AJ Brown, man. That's where it all started for me, man. They ended up getting this guy. They didn't really have the explosive wide receiver play. I mean, no disrespect to my man Smith over there, because Devontae Smith is my boy. But other than him, they didn't really have much over there. Now you got these two weapons over there on that team. And then when that first happened, and then the draft picks that they got from last year and going into this year, they draft well, man, and they know that was kind of a formula too that we seen from San Francisco. It might not look as sexy to people. I mean, the Nick Bosa pick was, but a lot of picks wasn't really that sexy going on the defensive line. But they end up having one of the best defense, if not the best defense right now in the league, and it was like a toss up between them and Philly. So yeah, that basically just brought Philly right back into the Super Bowl conversation. So yeah, the rich only get richer, and they're definitely trying to, you know, get up and get those pieces and get those spade pieces, and they're trying to get themselves back going into that next level. Because I feel like it's this business that wasn't really finished. It was unfinished business. I mean, that's why Jason Kelsey wanted to come back, and they just want to re up again, see if they can run it back. And then, Kansas City ain't no punks. They gonna do the same thing. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what's gonna happen this day, because from now until Saturday, that's what usually make a team. So I want to see how all this builds, because at the end of the day, too, what made Kansas City so good, man, is they got those two nice cornerbacks in the draft last year. They got what's his name, Galapagos or something like that. They got the defensive end who was pretty good, and they ended up getting Pacheco, man, who was a seventh round pick running back who, basically took Clyde St. Clair's job from him. So yeah, man, it's like this is the best part about the draft to me, is going into the day and just building the team. And that's what it's all about right now. The first round is just like a lot of sexy picks. Some people might like them, some won't. But then, at the end of the day, this is the round that's going to determine champions.
Right, and I need for our Lions fans out there to relax, okay? Understand most of this part of the draft for us is us building people to have more variety, okay? To basically have some depth on the team. We know most of the people that's on the team currently are people that came back from last year, and you see what type of record we had at the end of the season. We are now looking to add a few pieces, which I feel like we've done and we'll do today. But in the end, we're trying to get more depth on the squad. So when we get some of these other picks, don't go overboard and like, oh, here they go, and they don't know what they're doing again. Until Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell prove otherwise, let's see what they got. They've been pretty good so far. The Lions are clearly the best team we have in Detroit at the moment. Get them a
Pretty much.
little raise. I understand it's been 50 plus years since the Lions did anything, but let's try to not have that same old Lions mentality. Let's see what we're working with, all right?
Because what pissed me off too is the fact that what people got to realize is Brad Holmes built that they have over there with the Rams when they won that championship. But he left his championship team that he built. He got the Cooper Cubs and all those guys over there, and hell, he drafted Aaron Donald. And so it's like, come on, y'all got to give him some type of credit. I still feel like a lot of Lions people who are so-called fans who don't really watch football or probably don't watch college football be the main ones running off at the mouth and saying, oh man, the Lions gonna draft a kicker in the first round and all that BS. And it's like, man, I don't want to hear it. Like, I was one of the people who used to be like at first, man, I feel like I wish that they do better in the draft. But what they showed me last year, and then how that went to paper, and then how it came to providing a better team, because what was crazy was my man's Aaron Glenn wasn't getting the credit. The credit was due, because he's a good, defensive coordinator. But the issue was the defense wasn't playing as well as the offense at the beginning of the season. And when they finally caught up, even though we had the worst defense, man, the way they played and just the way they were gritty and they just played through, adversity and just, regardless, they had that diehard attitude. Like before we was in every game and then we started winning some of those games we was in and miraculously. So I definitely feel like this was best for the team right now. And Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes might not care about what you say because they gonna do what's best with what they feel like to help that team no matter what. And that's why I'm looking forward to the second round and seeing who they pick at the 34th pick.
I got nothing else on that one. We can move forward.
Okay, man, I want to talk about the playoffs, man, because at first it was kind of iffy, but
All right.
surprisingly, man.
So basically, you want to get into the NBA playoffs. Before we do that, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, real quick, because we still got to pay the bills. As they say.
Yes, sir.
We just want to advertise some of our fine folks here in the Nighthawk Network. So after we do that, we're gonna talk NBA playoffs, in particular, one individual that we got to get on.
We're gonna talk about him first.
Okay, so as soon as we get back,
do you want me to go first or you? Because I know you're gonna be kind of angry when you talk about this person.
Yeah. You may have to go first on this one. All right.
Okay.
We'll be right back, y'all. Have you been scrolling Facebook and looking for that quick sports fix? Want a quick peek of what's going on in the latest sports news? Check out Pure to the Game Sports Blog with the sports guru, QD Lee. He'll get you together. Check it out. Follow it on Facebook. Make sure you like it.
Hello. It's another glorious day, my T-Steppers, and you know what time it is. I hope you have all of your comforts together because it's time to dish the tea. And you're dishing tea, darlings, with Big Meat.
Can't wait. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat.
Darling.
They run out of time in the end, and the offensive coordinator Dorsey.
The views and or opinions expressed here on Gametime Audible is that of the host and or guest, and does not necessarily reflect those of the Nighthawk Network or its affiliates. Viewer and listening discretion is advised.
They run out of time in the end, and the offensive coordinator Dorsey.
All right, people. Hope you enjoyed the commercial break there. Do understand that when we play that little snippet, this one right here.
They run out of time in the end, and the offensive coordinator Dorsey.
I play that because that usually means we about to get a little salty about something right quick. So that being said, let's get to it. NBA playoffs. Go, you.
People can say whatever the hell they want to say. I really don't care because this is my opinion. It's not E's opinion, but it's probably going to be close to his opinion. Kawhi Leonard should just retire, man. This dude, I definitely, when I heard Stephen A. at first, I said, man, is Stephen A. going too hard on this guy? I don't think he was because of the fact is, man, this dude playing with the house money because at first when he played during the regular season, when he was getting hurt, it's like, okay, man, maybe we'll give him a break. But they had load management on you the whole season. How did they have load management on you? And with the load management, they did that so you could stay healthy and you get into the playoffs, man. At the end, it's just like you just quit on your team again. How many times did you have to quit on your team from the San Antonio Spurs days, man, where you got into it with Ginobili and Tony Parker because they felt like they still played and won championships with that same injury that you have, and then you just go to another team and you do the same thing. I mean, I felt like he basically, when he went to the Raptors, he wanted to prove them wrong, and that's why I think he was on his A game. But as soon as he got that big contract and went over there to the Clippers, man, he owed the Clippers a lot of money, man, because he ain't nothing but a damn thief. That dude's a thief, and he should be put in jail. He not only is taking that owner's money, but the taxpayers' money who's over there with the Clippers. And I just don't feel like right now at this point in time that they should keep that team intact, man. And I love Paul George, man. But I mean, If he could have played, he would have played. But it's like, how many times he's injured too? You got these two teams to better. You got these two dudes to better your team. But I'm not even really. It's not even about Paul. It's about Kawhi, man, quitting on that team. It just really felt disgusting to me, man, because I felt like that's why Russell Westbrook came over there, man. Yeah, I feel like a lot of it was he wanted to prove people wrong, and he did, because I don't care what y'all say about Russell Westbrook in his game. We have to talk about it. We have to get that dude his flowers, man, because when he went over there, he was a leader and he stepped his game up. But to have a team that's supposed to have two other players on the team, or one player as far as a Kawhi Leonard who could elevate his game, because everybody was shocked that first game when the Suns lost, but it was because of how well Kawhi Leonard played, man. I'm not saying he's not a good player. He one of the better players when he on this game, man. But I don't think a lot of these, and you know, I'm not trying to question his injuries, but is he really that injured where he's just not playing some of these games? And if he was that injured when that incident first happened, why did it leak out like maybe 2-3 days later? I just want answers.
You done? You done?
Mm-hmm.
He a thief. He a damn thief. He stole the money. Kawhi Leonard, you need your, okay? First and foremost, your actions disrespect every hardworking American that supports the NBA. Okay, I understand. Okay, we do not know people's pain threshold. Okay, let's go there first and foremost. That being said, people like Kawhi Leonard, Ben Simmons, those people who, when it seems like the push come to shove, suddenly they can't play. I really wonder how hurt was Ben Simmons at the end of the year. And did that pain get worse when they found out that they was going to be playing the Sixers in the first round? Because I know Ben Simmons didn't want no parts of playing in Philadelphia. But we ain't talking about Ben right now. We talking about Kawhi. Kawhi Leonard, who last year barely played at all, had that whole time to rest whatever this knee issue is, then was allowed to load manage the entire season. Suddenly, that last couple weeks of season, you was playing every game. You was playing back to back. You was starting. You was getting your minutes in. Everything was going great. The playoffs start. Them first two games, they was back to calling you Killer Kawhi because you was dominant at times, okay? You dominated not only offensively but defensively. But then all of a sudden, game 3, you couldn't play at all. Not even come off the bench. Okay, we gave you that. We gave you that. We know you had it. But then you went on not to play the rest of the damn playoff series. What's up with that? Come on, man. If your knee problem is to the point to where you can't play more than a month at a time, for the amount of money they're paying you, you need to do one or two things. Either accept the pay cut for the good of the team, for the love of the game, or sit your down for good and take your boy being with you. Because y'all stealing. Y'all is stealing. And it seems like there's always those few people in every league that make all this buku money. People like, oh, guess who's hurt now? Isn't Stanton hurt for the Yankees, for example?
Yeah.
Don't he seem to be hurt every year for the Yankees, making all that money?
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say it. Now, thank God, knock on wood, he's been healthy so far. But I'm still waiting for that day I get that announcement that my guy Mike Trout is hurt again. It's certain people that need to understand if your body is betraying you to that point to where you are not worthy of the money you are making, it's time for you to sit your A down. You done made over $200 million plus in the NBA. You done won championships. You are not proving anything to us by barely playing at all, except that you are good at stealing the money. I agree with you. I agree with Stephen A. Smith and several of the other talking heads. It's time to shut it down, Kawhi. You's a thief. You know what we expected to see in the playoffs out of you? What we've been getting from people like DeAndre Fox with the broke finger still playing, like Ja
But
Morant with the fucked up hand and still playing, like our guy Jimmy Butler that failed and bust his ass the other night, but then got up and bust their ass to the point where the Milwaukee Bucks ain't even in the playoffs no more. Hell, even doggone Greek Freak, we seen that doggone injury he
that was
sustained.
terrible. That was one
And
of the
he
worst injuries I've
came back to
seen.
play and play through pain. What's wrong with you, bruh? Why you gotta be so soft? Come on, man. You
That's real.
Like all the
That
paper
is,
saying, I'd be pissed right now. All right, I'm
and
done.
then remember Anthony Davis when he played too. The one game he hurt his arm and couldn't really feel his arm. I think it was more of a stinger than anything. And I know my man's was mad. Stephen A. didn't like to hear that, but when he came back out, we was so relieved. And when he went back, man, in he was balling, man. I was so happy to see that. And AD's been one of the pillars right now for the Lakers. The reason why they up 3-2 right now, I think the Bangs need to keep his mouth shut. You already seen what happened to Dylan Brooks saying that LeBron was old. And he showed you. He put his actions to work. He didn't have to say anything or do anything with the critics. But now Desmond Baines basically came out of you ain't here. He was saying he guaranteed that they'll have a game 7.
And remember, they did all that talking last year in the playoffs. See how far it got them with the Warriors? That's when all this started. Y'all remember how this all started with Steph? Like night, and in the end, if I'm LeBron after I finished them off in Game 6 at LA, I wouldn't say nothing. This is all I would do.
Because they deserve it, man. And that's one thing that at first I was like, man, I never really seen Clay Thompson get out of character, but he was like them dudes, man. They always talking, man, and they saying stuff like trying to get under your skin, talking about we're one of the best teams there is, and we're a dynasty. He said, man, how you a dynasty and you ain't even win anything yet? Because of that too, I don't think that it's gonna be nothing out of that series. I really think they're gonna probably wrap it up today, and I wouldn't be surprised if Golden State wrap it up today too, man. Because if like I said, if Draymond scored 15 points, that might be all they need to just move on to the next round, and it's just a championship pedigree. I want to see how that Boston series go with them on Sunday now too, playing the 76ers. Everybody think it's just going to be a wash. I said it depends on how Joel Embiid feel. I was just a little disappointed because I caught them flipping too, and I said, "Come on, man, you guys have a situation where y'all could have closed out," and I felt like they gave Atlanta too much credit, man, and I was disappointed with that. Then Jason Tatum called himself apologizing to Janet Jackson, but it was like, man, you messed up her money. She had to postpone her concert because you guys didn't do what you were supposed to do. You can't play like that right now with the 76ers, man. But the only problem is right now is they're going to need a healthy Embiid, because that's the only way I feel like that they can get past Boston if they have a healthy Embiid. And it got so much easier by Miami beating, Milwaukee, because everybody looked at Milwaukee like they were going to be the favorite. I think that's going to be probably one of the best series. I think do you think that they're gonna have enough manpower, like Jimmy Buckets when they go into round two with the Knicks? Do you think they'll have enough gas to pull that off? And I think And if I look at it too, like if in this second round, did if Denver can't get out this second round, man, that should automatically eliminate my man's Jokic from the MVP talk because it seems like he'll be the good player during the year, and he usually played great during the year, but not in the playoffs. It seems like they just disappear. Hopefully, they got enough manpower now with that whole team structured and everybody being healthy, because Jamal Murray is a big help right now for them, man. And Michael Porter playing. And I just feel like if they could keep that up, and what my man's Caldwell Pope, if they can have all those guys play and continue to execute like they have been, Aaron Gordon, I could see them giving Phoenix a run, because I still feel like, and we talked about it, if they would have had a healthy Paul George and a healthy Kawhi, that would have probably been the other way around, where the Clippers could have took advantage of that series. Was the first game, the way they punked them, man, I feel like if that whole team would have been there and played, I definitely felt like they still could have advanced, because the games wasn't to the point where I think it was like maybe a game where it was like a real blowout that it was already decided, but most of those games was won like by 6, maybe 8 points at the least. I want to know too. How did you feel about as far as the Golden State Warriors? Do you think that tonight that they'll be marching on to the second round? And I want to know too. Do they play the? They will be playing. They'll be facing the Phoenix Suns, right? Oh no, I'm sorry. Denver played the Phoenix Suns. So Golden State. I'm trying to see. Golden State will be playing the Lakers or whoever win this Memphis series. Okay. All in all, at the beginning of this whole playoffs, I was disappointed at first because some of the series was determined like I thought they would be. We thought that the Boston series would have been basically handled a little faster, was kind of surprised me. But at the end of the day, to see how the Lakers went up 3-1 on a team that people thought that they didn't have a chance of beating was the Grizzlies, and then with Miami being an eighth seed, beating the Buccaneers, beating the Bucks because Milwaukee Bucks and Miami, people got to realize have a history. They beat them in a bubble that year, when Milwaukee was one of the favorites, and they went off and won that series when nobody expected. The year after they came and they kind of blew out Miami, and I think they swept them. It was a gentleman's sweep, like 4-1. But to return the favor, and what I like too was to hear at the end, because at first last year Giannis couldn't control himself in a press conference and kind of went off, because after losing a big series and going through what you go through, man, you're not too happy at the end, and just to be right there in front of people and asking you questions about failure and your season being a failure. I think he said the same person asked him that, did he feel like this year was a failure? And he said, no, not at all. But he said, so you're basically saying, yeah, I won the championship. But he said, out of all the years Jordan played, the 19 years, he was saying, so you're saying besides the six that he won the championship, the rest are failures? And the guy had to shut up and he looked stupid. Then he said, no, it's not about me failing or about my team failing. He said, man, sometimes you win and lose. He just said, man, that's just the way it is. It's basically in God's plans. I probably win one year and I probably lose one year. I don't know. I don't usually determine that. But he said, all I can do is go out there and give it my all and do the best I could to give my team the advantage to win. And I like that because it showed the maturity on him, man, because he didn't have nothing to really hold his head on, and he shouldn't have been mad about as far as his performance, because of the fact is we didn't even think he was going to play the way he landed that first game. But he still went out there and he played, and he had determination to go out there and, give it his all, man. And that's the thing we were talking about with Kawhi, too, because we've seen a lot of guys get hurt, fall, and, awkwardly, or, messing up the finger like De'Aaron Fox and you know, a unibrow, and they still went out there and they tried to do what was best for their team. Because we know if AD didn't play, then this series might have been over already. But it was just good to see those guys come out there and fight, and especially for him, man, because he had a lot of injuries and we were starting to call him glass and make fun of him. But for him to rebound and do what he did and still give the Lakers an advantage going home with a 3-2 lead, man, you can't do nothing but give them all the props in the world. But I was just surprised too how some of these series went, because I really felt like it was going to be boring and it wasn't really going to be up to my expectations. But a lot of the games have been competitive. Even the Hawks losing the way they did, they still competed. Even though I felt like I don't know what happened with the Celtics. It was a brain fart, man. They were up by like 10 with like under like a minute. It was like a minute and a half to go, and then that's when they started turning over the ball and just was making stupid mistakes. And I feel like, man, that's one thing that I tell people, man. You might not like what Ime Udoka did or what the allegations were, what happened with him that led him to not be with the Boston Celtics. But if he was there, this wouldn't have never happened. These mishaps, the new coach kind of seemed like when he is getting pressured and his back against the wall, sometimes he'll make good decisions, not all the time. I definitely want to know too when it comes down to the end of everything too, who will be the last two teams standing. And right now, man, if Golden State can stay with playing at this level with the whole team rocking like that, they're gonna be a hard one to beat, man. And but when it comes to the East right now, I think probably the strongest team since I'm not counting Jimmy Butler out, man, because he gonna be there. He is like, man, I still feel like you'll have to go through Boston because as much as I like Philadelphia, and B just don't seem like he stay healthy enough at a consistent point to where they'll get to the next level. But yeah, man, I wouldn't be surprised if we have a repeat, of the finals. But at the same time, I still got to look at what the Lakers are doing with that team over there, and Denver still got to prove themselves to me because I still don't feel like the Denver is the team that we always thought that they would be. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, man. So I definitely want to keep my eye out and see what happens in this second round and see what's gonna happen getting and leading off into the finals. But it's been a little better than what I gave credit. Because at first I was saying, "Oh man, this is terrible, and I don't even want to see it." And this wasn't as good. Some of the series wasn't that good, but like the competitive ones, like at first, when the Lakers won that series, that one is still competitive, and with the Golden State and with Sacramento, that's one of my favorite ones. Because you got a young team that was coached by Mike Brown, who played with the Warriors before, and giving them a run. But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing what's gonna happen with these two closeout games tonight, man. They both have a chance to close out, and I want to see because one of them probably gonna go to a game seven, or they might be both closed out tonight. So I'm gonna definitely keep my eye out. I know um, in a couple minutes too. It's getting closer to that draft time, so I want to just kick it with you guys. Appreciate everything too, because I feel like us doing the show this way make me to the point where I can express my feelings without even having any, backlash, and to be able to just focus on the main thing at hand. Um, I definitely look forward to what's going to happen in this next round of the NBA. But I'm really looking forward what's going to happen too, what's going to build on our team. And I've been really trying to be a homer now for a while and stick with my Detroit Lions. So I'm hoping they can make some moves to help build our team and our franchise too this season. But yeah, man, it's just been really a crazy week, man, from Aaron Rodgers finally going to his team, and then, Lamar finally getting what's just for him. And I don't know what the hell took that long. And if I had to criticize anyone or say, well, I'm not really mad that they basically took their time for it, it would have been Dak Prescott. I wouldn't have been mad if they hesitated as long as they would have versus Lamar Jackson, who gave them everything. So, yeah, man, definitely appreciate all of the people who basically chimed in, and I can't say anymore, but much blessings, man. And for all the people who've been tuning in to the Purity of the Game page, I've definitely been thrilled, man, because on the Purity of the Game page has really been going up, man. Every day I look up now, I'm from like 168 when he was first advertised. Like to say thank you for everything, and I just want you guys to just keep giving me support, man. Pure to the game. All of the stuff that I've been doing on my page as far as the feedback and trades and anything that happened, or if you want to basically talk about and discuss different things, and anything you want me to put on there. Hell, if you want me to start putting more hockey on there, because I've been watching the playoffs as of late, man, and them playoffs has been real aggressive, man. That's one thing that I've learned. I used to didn't really too much care about watching hockey, let alone the playoffs. But now, as I start to look into it, you can tell it's a different monster from when it's the regular season and in the playoffs. Kind of like how it is in baseball. In baseball, it's a little bit different atmosphere, but the physical play and just the way those guys are playing right now, I was just surprised to see how well the games have been going. Like the Boston Bruins, man, didn't think that they'll be as good as they are, man. I seen the game where they were up 2-1, and then they end up going up 3-1, and the team scored. And I think a couple seconds later, Boston went back down and scored to, seal the deal in the game. And I was like, man, I've never really seen that. And I don't know, man, maybe I'm tripping, but did hockey change any rules? Because it started to seem like maybe because it's in the playoff, the pace is a little faster and I'm seeing more scores.
Yeah, basically, I said I'm liking some of the hockey that I've seen in the playoffs. Shout out to the Seattle Kraken. They have unleashed the Kraken on the NHL. So much so, remember, the team that won last year's NHL championship was the Colorado Avalanche. And they now are on the verge of being put out the playoffs by a team that only started 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Remarkable come up for the Seattle Kraken. A model where most teams that are starting expansion franchises should follow if they do indeed pull that off. But yeah, I still say Boston is a team to beat in the NHL playoffs. But I definitely like what I saw out of Seattle and a couple of other teams as well. Before we go, because Q pretty much just summed up everything else, there is some I need people to look into. We are always promoting women's sports here on the Game Time Audible, and what we have noted is that there have been some major moves in terms of the transfer portal for women's college basketball that we have saw. And keep in mind, and doing a little research, over 300 plus players on the women's basketball side alone have entered the transfer portal. Most of them being graduate transfers or people taking advantage of what we are calling the COVID rule, where basically if you are an athlete during one of those COVID seasons, you are automatically given an extra year of eligibility. And a lot of people are taking advantage of that, including two people that you are about to tell you about before we head out.
Man, the Haley Van Lift really surprised the hell out of me because what's funny that brings more drama to it. It's like people might not like the aggressiveness and how the ladies been playing now, and they talk a lot more like the men, and they're even more aggressive as the men now. But the whole situation with you can't see me, we was talking about that, and I get credit to E because I didn't really pay it no mind at first, and I thought about it like, damn, she did that to Haley Van Lith. That was the first person she did that to because I think she was talking junk because they were still in the game, but I still feel like Iowa had them right where they wanted them at. And then, they pulled off with the victory. It's pretty crazy now to see because we still know Iowa's going to be there. Most of the ladies are going to return into that team. But now that you look at it, and man, Haley Van Lith going to LSU is about to really impact things. They lost their guard, but that basically gives them an opportunity to repeat, man. I was really surprised with that, and I
Right,
had to
right.
definitely let that
Remember,
be known.
remember LSU got Flo Janae Johnson, the young rookie, who is also known for her rapping skills, and of course Angel Reese, who basically been doing all the circuits in terms of the talk shows and whatnot. I actually had a chance to catch her and Flo Janae on the Breakfast Club a couple days ago. It's like, man, the Victors definitely going to spoil. They are definitely making the rounds, and they
Definitely
signing
get
NIL deals left and right. Basically Charlemagne was like, so y'all getting that bag, huh? I heard y'all getting them 7 figure NIL deals. And she was like, keep my business out the streets.
yeah,
So
because them ladies.
yeah, I mean, it's just looking at that deal. Then of course, we have South Carolina getting one of the best point guards in the country as Oregon transfer is going to them next year. So I forget her name, but Powell.
Paul.
But yeah, she basically averaged like 12 and 6 over there for Oregon, and Pac-12 wasn't that bad last year when you consider Stanford and UCLA and teams of that nature. So yeah, I know Don Staley's gonna have a lot of fun coaching her. And looking at some of the listings of some of the other people that's transferring, there's quite a few people transferring from schools like DePaul and North Carolina and Duke. Basically people who have moved on from their squads and say, okay, my coach gone, I'm gone too. So yeah, I think you're gonna see a lot of interesting transfer portal players next year. And like I said, knowing how the women's game are more prone to have games with the best of the best playing each other, particularly in some of those early tournaments in the season. I'm definitely looking forward to that. I mean, if you are one of those, like the Atlantis Cup or that one they do out in Hawaii in terms of the tournament, please make sure that you put Iowa and LSU together if possible. That's going to be a very highly televised game when and if it does happen. Again, you definitely want to see UConn and South Carolina play next year. I want to see how that plays. It's going to just be a lot of good teams next year in terms of the women's game. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. I definitely been enjoying the women's game, man, and it was happy. I was happy to see some of the ladies, who was in the draft. Draft needs to pick up a little bit as far as the advertisement and doing more on their draft part. But the players were dogs, all of them, man. Maddie Segrist, I was surprised how a lot of them, too, like we talked about before, man, when they dressed up, man, they looked really good, man. It was really cool to see them. Haley Joneses and, Malaya Boston, those ladies, man. It really is going to be good to see what
Right.
happens in the NBA.
remember, training camp for the WNBA starts this week. So, I believe it's the middle of the month when the WNBA season starts. So I'm looking forward to that. Doing a little better job of keeping up with it so we can see what's going on. And, definitely looking forward to Brittany Griner coming back to the league. She has announced that she will no longer be playing internationally anymore, and you
And
can't
she,
blame her for that at all. But
yep,
I'm
and she.
hoping that they basically make it worth her while in due time to where she can afford not to.
But they should have been doing that for the ladies, man. For them to go back and forth or go overseas to get more money, man, and they're professionals here in America is a travesty, man. I just feel like if it was just better handled, man, she wouldn't have to go through the scrutiny and the things that she
Right.
went through, man.
Like I said, I mean, even if they make it to where the ladies make at least a fourth of what the men make, I think a lot of them wouldn't go overseas. The reason why they do so is because those leagues pay them so much more money than they make in the WNBA.
Because it got bad. I started seeing stuff that I never seen before. Now I couldn't imagine with my own eyes, man. They were saying that at some point mascots in the NBA was making more than the women in
I believe
WNBA.
it. I believe it. It makes sense. Like I said, when you have people on NBA benches making more money riding the oak in the NBA than a whole WNBA squad, that's definitely something that needs to be done with that. The
Yeah, they
advertisement, the sponsorship, whatever y'all need to do to make it to where, even if it ain't equal, at least to where it's more competitive.
they could be accommodated better, man, so they don't have to worry about going, like you said, overseas and trying to play just to make ends meet, man. They pay them more overseas than what they would pay them over here, man. Like they're not valued enough over here, and that's why they have to do that, man. That's where the travesty starts.
Right. And I also, somewhere down the line, would like to see a developmental league similar to what the NBA has with the G League for the women as well.
That'd be nice. Get a
hmm
chance to see some of the ladies, who try to make their way to stardom.
Right. I mean, and also remember, for those of y'all kind of concerned about your team and where they're drafting, it's kind of going to be another draft when you think about it, because right now you got the XFL and the USFL playing, and keep in mind some of the better players from both of those leagues will probably find themselves getting invited to NBA to NFL training camps later on down the line. So you might actually find a diamond in the rough in one of them squads.
And they be having those contemporary drafts too, And well, I'm not sure if they're going to still do that in the NFL. I know that they did with kids who had bad grades or they had issues in college. Unfortunately, one of the better players who had went through that was in Baylor, and I think right now the good thing is he's in XFL. That's Josh Gordon, man. He had problems galore. He made out for himself pretty good, but I think the alcohol addiction really caught him, man, and it's really been a demon that he couldn't shake. But I'm just hoping that he can do well in the XFL, if least, because I still feel like he had some good times in the NFL, and it paved the way for him for that draft. But man, just hopefully that I know he got a lot of chances, but I would definitely like to see him go out on a positive note.
Right. So again, y'all remember that if you see this later on, if you do comment on some of the things we say, we will get back to you in the comments. We are going to be airing this twice. We're going to air this once tonight at 10 p.m. here on Friday, and we also going to air it again on Sunday around about 7 or 8 p.m. So if you did not catch it the first time, you can catch it again, and we'll probably do it like this. I mean, it pretty much seems like he was definitely liking us formatting it in this way. So at least for the next couple of weeks, we probably will do pre-recorded so that if you don't catch it live, you at least will hear the comments, because at least one of us will probably chime in while it's being aired live, so we can comment on your comments. So please feel free to still comment and do so. And if you have any questions or regards to Pure to the Game or stuff you would like for us to talk about on the show, what have you, make sure you hit us up in the messenger, either on our Facebook Messenger, or they can reach me on my Instagram Messenger, which is EricHawk45, or Hugh's Instagram Messenger, which is what, Hugh?
Mine is on just WHOOVI, Hoovy. You could just reach me on there.
There you go. So that being said, we're gonna wrap it on up. Of course, we'll be back talking about the rest of the draft next week, and of course, we'll also get back to talking about the NBA playoffs and a little baseball too. Don't think we forgot about baseball. This wasn't much going on in baseball, so we didn't talk much about it this week, but it's cool. That being said, we about to head on up out of here. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. As always, we want you to be blessed. Don't stress and let the good Lord handle the rest, all right? And you're going to be all right. Until we see y'all, Lord willing, next time around, this is your boy E-Buck. That's that dude, he the guru. We throwing the fingers up, and we out.
Gametime Audible is a Nighthawk network.